so I have to ask you this first question. When you think about time, what comes to mind? Anybody? You can throw out any words that come. When you think about time, what comes to mind?
Impatience.
Impatience? Somebody said?
Don't waste time.
You don't want to waste it? Desire? I heard? Age? When we hear these words such as time, there's already something registering with us, right?
Yep.
Meaning that we've already decided how we're going to view time. So time is one of those precious things that was given to us. It's our allotment out of affinity. It allows us to chronicleize the events that have happened in our lives. But one of the things that we don't think about time enough is that time is a gift. Time is so important, it's so valuable, that's why you spend time. That's why you want to learn to invest time. But you also want to be able, just like time was freely given to you, you want to freely give your time without motive. Oftentimes when I'm speaking with someone, they say, yes, I volunteer because it makes me feel good. Well, if you volunteer only because it makes you feel good, you have missed the point of volunteerism. You have missed the point of time, because think about it, time is there for us regardless of how we feel. Right? What about when you don't feel like serving? Someone still has a need, right? Think about it. It happens every Thanksgiving and every Christmas. We give all of these turkeys and all of these gifts to people who are in need. But what happens the other 10 months? Why? Because we have been commercialized to have an emotion related to only 2 times to give. But unfortunately, there are 365 days of the year, 24 hours, 7 days a week, somebody is in need. And if we only went on how we felt, someone would still be in lack. This is why my wife and I dedicated our life to teach about love. Yes, we talk about love, but not like anything you've heard before. Because when you think about love, most of us think about the ancient Greek philosophy of love. We've heard it all before. Storge, phileo, eros, and agape. Right? In agape, a storge is love like family. Phileo is love like you have for your friends. Eros is a romantic love. And agape, we have taught, especially in the Christian church, that that's the only love that God has for his people. And we can never attain that type of love for anybody. Right? Does it sound familiar? And then there was this new phenomenon that came out. The 5 love languages. How many of y'all took the test? Come on. I did. How many arguments started over that test? Did you ever notice that the interesting thing about every definition that we have for love? It is taught on how we should interact with others. But there is not one definition on love on how you should deal with yourself. We deny ourselves so much, even down to the way we think about love. When we think about love, we think about a person or an event or a time, or other words come to mind. But no one has told us about loving ourselves and the gift of true love. So one of the things that we do is dispel that whole thought process. Because when you're confused about love, you're confused about the actions that are equated to love. Therefore, you are confused about the service that you give. And if you have been conditioned to deny yourself, you are also conditioning yourself to deny others. This is why we only think about them 2 or 3 times out of the year. But none of it's intentional, right? We don't plan on doing this, right? And when we talk about love, it's always coming from a good place. But why is it always giving of self and never receiving of self? When was the last time you thought about how wonderful you are? When was the last, somebody said this morning, come on. When was the last time you really tried to put a price tag on that? You can't, right? So why would we waste our time neglecting ourselves? How you perceive yourself is how you perceive others. One of the questions I get all the time is, well, tell me about self-love. You got to love yourself before you love others, right? Well, if you don't love yourself, you won't love anybody else. Loving yourself is loving others. Because when I respect myself, I'm naturally going to respect you. Respect is not something you earn. Respect is automatically given. Respect is something you lose. But we have been conditioned to deny ourselves so much that we deny the services that we should be given. Time is that investment. One of the things that people don't like to talk about much, because we talk about resources. The easiest thing that you can do is give a financial resource. The hardest thing that you can do is give the resource of you, your time. Spending time investing in a person. Spending time dropping seeds, not knowing when that seed will become into a full harvest. If we talk about resources and only financial, people dismiss it because they feel like they have, guess what, bought that time, bought that service, bought that person. But we have to reprogram the way that we think, the way that we serve. And think about, when was the last time you did a random act of kindness? When was the last time you opened a door for someone? When was the last time you paid it forward? Starbucks has this thing where every time I go to Starbucks, somebody done paid for my drink. So we pay it forward. Chick-fil-A has this great thing that they do the same thing. But when was the last time you held a door for someone? When was the last time you said hello or good morning? When was the last time you complimented someone? You never know what your investment of self will do for somebody else's time. We tell every day that we should teach our kids to be model citizens. But if we're teaching them from the time that they come in this world to deny self, think about it. Kids are free spirits, right? But what do? We spend the rest of our lives programming them to assimilate, but then we're telling people you need to be free. But the first word is, nope, don't do that, stop, no. So what? The kids, their name is no. And that no happens. That's why we know to stop at a red light, to speed up at a yellow light, and go at a green light. Because we have been conditioned so much to follow a program, we don't know how to think outside of that program. So what I want you to think about is, what are you doing with your time? Like the brother said, don't waste your time. Because you are so valuable, you have been gifted with a gift that only you have, and if you don't invest that, the world loses a return on that investment. The earth loses a return on that investment. The heavens loses a return on that investment. Whenever you give, it's always the appropriate time to give. Whenever you serve, it's always the appropriate time. One of the things that I tell people, they say, well, what if people reject your love advocacy? Well, when was the last time you heard somebody say, they love me too much, they get on my nerves? Never heard that, right? So you cannot outserve someone to the point that they don't want your services anymore. So you want to be mindful. And so I go back to that original question. When the word time comes to mind, what words are associated with it? We need to get to a place where we separate the emotions, separate the things that are hindering us to getting to a place of serve, and be organically who we were created to be. We talk a lot about independency, right? And everybody wants to get to a level where you are independent citizen. But we don't talk enough about interdependence. I need for you to be independent because I may need to lean on your shoulder. I don't need you to be codependent, but I do need to be interdependent. One of my favorite church songs is, I Need You to Survive. See, I need you to survive because by you surviving on your roughest day might be motivating me. It may be my best day. You might be going through pure hell, but somebody looking and saying, if Monica did it, I can do it. If Coach Baker did it, I can do it. You never know what you're doing for somebody by accident, by default. But we got to reprogram the way that we look at service. We think it has to be extravagant, like I got to go somewhere. A lot of times the people who need service is right around your front door. Or at your school. At your church. In your family. And the families are the worst to serve because we are outserved before we in-serve. And your family is the one who needs it, and we think because we know them, we know their needs. but we don't. We got to come with a heart of love and make sure we have a heart posture. And that heart posture should always be to serve first, judge last, and give always. So make sure you're serving in your good times.